Did you know that coincidence is a lie you've been told your entire life? What if I told you that every moment you brushed off as chance was actually a message from the universe? Think about it. A number that keeps appearing, a song that plays just when you need it. Have you ever felt that? Let's dive into the incredible world of synchronicities that every spiritualist must know. We've been raised to believe that things happen by luck, through coincidences, chance, or probability. But deep down, you've always had a feeling there's something more. Maybe you've seen the same number everywhere, got a call from someone just as you were thinking of them, or heard a song lyric that hit you at the perfect moment. You probably brushed it off, told not to read into things. But there is something more, and it's been trying to reach you. These moments aren't just random, they're signals, gentle hints from a deeper intelligence guiding you. This isn't about superstition or wishful thinking. It's about realizing that reality is alive, aware, and constantly in communication with you. Are you ready to pay attention? As a child, you didn't ignore meaning. You noticed everything: patterns in the clouds, strange timings, faces in shadows. You felt wonder without needing to explain it. But as you got older, that sense was buried. You were told not to trust what couldn't be measured, that seeing patterns was just your brain's glitch, a bias you should correct. School taught you to believe only in facts and formulas, that science works through logic and cause and effect. If something couldn't be proven in a lab, it wasn't real. So you stopped trusting those subtle moments. You stopped looking deeper. Still, the science never stopped. Those same numbers, symbols, and names kept showing up like secret messages in your life. But when you mentioned them, people called it a coincidence. And you believed them because sometimes it feels safer to blend in than to stand out. In a world that shames strangeness, it's easier to stay quiet, bury your curiosity, and play along. So you learned to ignore your intuition. You started trusting logic over inner knowing. You silenced the part of you that felt there was more. The system you were raised in values control and predictability. It wants you to focus on what can be measured, tracked, and sold. If you begin to explore mystery or ask deeper questions, you become harder to influence, and that's inconvenient for them. So, you were trained to ignore those meaningful nudges, to laugh at synchronicity, to believe that these moments are just your brain making things up. But the truth is this: your brain isn't lying to you, it's trying to wake you up. You're not imagining these patterns, you're noticing them. Some things can't be shared openly here. That's why we created Insights Academy, a free newsletter where we go deeper. You'll also get the Kybalion ebook while it's still available. The concept of synchronicity was never meant to be mainstream, because once you truly understand it, you stop following the usual rules. You start seeing the universe reaching out to you, guiding your path in ways others may miss. You begin to feel less like a victim of chaos and more like you're part of something intelligent, ancient, and personal. This doesn't mean every coincidence is a sign from the universe. It just means you're no longer asleep. You've stepped beyond the idea that life is meaningless or random. Now, you see that every moment could carry something meaningful if you're willing to notice. You didn't lose this ability. The world just trained it out of you. But that training can be reversed. This isn't about learning something new. It's about remembering what was always inside you before they convinced you to forget. You were never meant to drift through life half awake. You were meant to notice the signs left for you and follow them towards something real. Carl Jung once said, "Synchronicity is an ever-present reality for those who have eyes to see," and he meant it quite literally. Jung wasn't just a psychologist, he was a pioneer of the soul. When he introduced the term synchronicity, he wasn't trying to explain away weird coincidences. He was revealing a basic truth about life, that the inner world and the outer world are not separate, they mirror each other. Jung noticed something interesting in his patients. They often experienced events that were deeply meaningful but completely unexplainable by logic or odds. Like a woman dreaming of a golden scarab, and then a real scarab beetle appears at her window. Or someone struggling with a major life decision who suddenly sees the same image or symbol in a dream, a song, and on a billboard. These weren't hallucinations. They were signs the subconscious mind and the external world moving in sync. Jung called it meaningful coincidence. But it wasn't about luck, it was about alignment. Synchronicities show up when the psyche is activated, when something deep inside you wants to break through your everyday thinking. This is where archetypes come in. Jung believed that our subconscious is built around symbolic patterns: the mother, the hero, the shadow. These archetypes are not just found in myths and stories, they're also in our dreams, behavior, and relationships. They shape our view of the world and pull certain experiences toward us. When an outside event matches one of these inner symbols, it's not just a coincidence, it's a call. A moment where the universe reflects something inside you. That's why synchronicities feel so powerful. They show up when something inside you is being stirred or shifted. And the more aware you become of what's moving within you, the more clearly you begin to see what's happening outside you. Think of those moments in life when everything seemed to line up. You thought of someone and they appeared. You were lost, and a phrase or sign brought clarity. You had a question, and the answer arrived unexpectedly. These aren't just feel good moments, they're invitations, reminders that you're part of something bigger. But we've been taught to dismiss them, to think that if we can't explain something, it isn't real. Jung didn't agree. He saw the outer world and the inner world as one continuous system. The conscious mind sends out meaning, and the unconscious responds in symbols. The world then becomes a mirror, not just in theory, but in energy, in synchronicity. This isn't fantasy or wishful thinking. It's an ancient truth that modern science is only starting to explore. Reality is not just a machine, it's a living language. And every synchronicity is a sentence written in that language, just waiting for you to read it. What Jung started to discover was something powerful and life-changing. You're not just watching life from the outside. You're part of a living system that's both psychological and cosmic. Every thought you think, every feeling you hold, every dream image you see, all of it connects with a deeper field of intelligence, and that field responds. When you live in alignment with your true self, the outer world begins to align with you. That's not ego, that's resonance, that's synchronicity. This is the original pattern of meaning, not forced from outside, but awakened from within. Once you understand this, life stops feeling like a bunch of random moments and starts to feel like a meaningful story. A story written by your soul, shaped by archetypes, and reflected by reality. Jung didn't just describe synchronicity, he revealed the deeper system of connection. Now the question is, are you ready to learn how to read it? The universe doesn't talk with words. It speaks through patterns, symbols, and timing. And if you're paying attention, it speaks all the time. Most people go through life thinking their thoughts are private and the world doesn't care about their questions or pain. But when someone starts to wake up, they begin to see things differently. They notice that when they're at a big life decision, a message appears. When they feel broken, a breakthrough shows up. And when they almost give up, something quietly but clearly pulls them back. That something is synchronicity, the spiritual language of the universe. This language isn't something you hear or see in a regular way. It's something you feel. It's that strange sense that something means more than it seems to, like a book falling open to the exact page you needed, or a stranger saying something that matches exactly what's been on your mind. These aren't dreams or made-up ideas. They are spiritual contact points, short but powerful signals that reality is more connected than you've been told. Every spiritual tradition believes the universe speaks through signs. In ancient Egypt, dreams and omens were seen as sacred messages. In Hinduism, divine timing is called Kala, not just regular time, but moments filled with purpose. Indigenous cultures talk about nature as being alive and conscious, with animals, weather, and landscapes acting as guides. Even in Abrahamic traditions, this shows up: angels coming at the right time, or visions showing people their path. The language may sound different, but the message is the same. You're not lost in a dead world. You are always in a conversation with a living one. Synchronicities often show up during spiritual awakenings, especially when you're letting go of the old and something new is coming. It's no surprise that people start noticing signs when they're leaving toxic relationships, starting something creative, or walking away from a life that no longer fits them. The more you follow your true path, the louder the universe speaks. But it's not that it just started talking. It's been speaking the whole time. You just finally got quiet enough to hear it. Still, a lot of people ignore these signs, not because they don't believe, but because they don't trust themselves. They doubt their intuition. They explain the signs away because they don't fit with logic. But spiritual language doesn't speak through facts or formulas. It speaks through resonance, through timing, through dreams, songs, deja vu, or a moment that just feels too perfect to be random. And when you stop asking, is this real? And instead ask, what is this trying to show me? That's when the language becomes clear. Sometimes the signs are gentle nudges, other times they shake your whole life. A missed flight that avoids danger, an illness that makes you slow down, a loss that strips away who you thought you were. These aren't punishments. They're ways the soul helps you realign when you've drifted. Not all synchronicities feel good, some hurt, but even those carry a message. It's time for change. Growth is needed. It's time to evolve. When you start seeing synchronicity as communication, not superstition, your whole way of moving through life changes. You begin asking for guidance and noticing how answers show up. You see that every day, in big or small ways, something greater is with you, speaking through your life, setting up moments you don't have to explain to trust. That trust becomes your inner guide, not because it keeps you safe, but because it connects you to a deeper wisdom that fear can never match. You were never supposed to walk this path alone. You were always meant to dance with the invisible. To wake up one normal day and realize it was never just normal at all. If you're not already part of gogetter.au, now's a good time to join. We go deeper there, sharing what we can't say here and giving you tools that match your manifestation journey. Most people think life just happens to them, that the world is some fixed, cold system we are stuck reacting to. But that idea is an illusion. It keeps you stuck, feeling powerless. The real truth is more intimate, more powerful. Your consciousness shapes your reality. What happens outside you isn't just random, it reflects what's happening inside. Not the version of you that plays a role in society, but the real you beneath all the noise. Synchronicities aren't accidents, they're feedback. The energy you carry is being reflected by the universe around you, confirming, challenging, or showing you something. When you understand that your thoughts, feelings, and intentions aren't just private ideas, but actual energy signals, your whole view shifts. You start to see why certain people show up, why some lessons keep repeating, and why moments of clarity often match outside breakthroughs. The line between random and meaningful begins to blur. And instead of watching life happen, you become an active part of creating it. This doesn't mean every quick thought changes reality, but your consistent focus, emotions, and beliefs act like a magnet. They shape what you notice, attract, and how you interpret things. If you focus on fear, life will reflect fear. If you stay curious and aware, synchronicities become easier to spot. Your perception is the lens through which meaning is either revealed or hidden. The more aligned you are inside, the more aligned your life feels outside. That's why big life changes often come with more synchronicities. When people start healing, following their soul's purpose, or letting go of the old scripts, they notice strange but clear signs that they're on the right path. This isn't your brain looking for patterns, it's your energetic field reacting to a new signal. Your consciousness is like an instrument, and when it plays in tune with your truth, the world starts to play along too. That's also why synchronicities often show up in clusters. They come when you're about to make a big choice, when you're changing or waking up. They're like road signs on a spiritual path you forgot you were on. And that path isn't random, it's taking you back to your true self. Every synchronicity reflects something inside, a belief shifting, a truth rising, a fear melting. When you listen, you're not just chasing signs, you're having a real conversation with the universe. But here's what most people miss. If you ignore these signs for too long, they seem to stop. Not because they're gone, but because you've tuned them out. The more you doubt, dismiss, or explain them away, the harder they are to notice. Synchronicities need your participation. They are not passive. They need your attention, reflection, and openness to change. That's their purpose, not to impress you, but to grow you. Your consciousness isn't just reacting to life, it's building it. And synchronicity is the language it uses to show you where something inside needs to shift. Once you start hearing this language, you stop chasing clarity and begin creating it. You stop seeing moments as random and start seeing them as perfect, not by luck, but by alignment. That's why being fully present matters so much. When you're distracted, reactive, or disconnected, you miss the signs. But when you're grounded and open, everything begins to connect. The stranger you ran into, the line you read by accident, the random idea you pushed aside, all of it is part of something bigger trying to speak to you. Consciousness doesn't live only in your mind. It flows through everything, and when your own consciousness matches that deeper flow, synchronicity becomes more than just signs. It becomes your compass. Not just proof of meaning, but proof that you're finally walking in your truth. For a long time, science and spirituality stayed in their own corners. Science focused on facts, while spirituality focused on faith. But in the last few decades, this separation has started to fade. Right in the middle of this shift is quantum physics. Funny enough, this branch of science often sounds more mystical than things you'd hear in a temple. Because when we look deep into how existence works, beyond atoms and into the quantum field, we find something amazing. Reality isn't solid. It's not fixed or tied to one place. Instead, it's flexible, deeply connected, and quick to respond. In other words, science is now confirming what spiritual traditions have been saying for thousands of years. One key idea in quantum physics is called non-locality. It means that two particles, once connected, stay in sync no matter how far apart they are. Einstein called this spooky action at a distance. Spooky or not, it's real. If one particle changes, the other reacts instantly, even if it's across the universe. There's no signal, no waiting, and no physical wire connecting them. It breaks all the old rules about space, time, and separation. And it makes us wonder, if particles can communicate across space, can people do the same? Can thoughts? Can consciousness? This idea helps explain synchronicity. When two things happen at the same time in a meaningful way, they may not be random at all. They might be connected, not by cause and effect, but by something deeper, like energy or resonance, just like entangled particles. Life events might mirror each other because of a shared invisible field. This is where science and spirituality meet. Both suggest that the universe isn't made of separate things. It's made of energy, relationships, possibilities, and vibration. You're not just a solid body moving through time. You're a field of energy and awareness, always interacting with a bigger field of potential. When you shift your inner state, your thoughts, your emotions, your intentions, you don't just feel different, you start to attract different experiences. So synchronicities aren't accidents. They're signs that reality is reacting to your inner world. They're proof that the universe is paying attention, even to what you can't control. Quantum physics also tells us something surprising about time. It may not be a straight line. The past and future might exist at the same time, like slices of a bigger picture. That lines up with spiritual teachings about divine timing, not as a countdown, but more like a frequency you have to tune into. Have you ever felt like a moment was perfectly timed, like it had been waiting for you? That's not just your imagination, that's physics meeting spiritual truth. Even the famous double slit experiment shows something wild. Just watching a particle changes how it behaves. That means we don't just observe reality, we influence it. If this resonates with you, comment down below what reality you want to influence or create. That will show your commitment and help shape your reality. This is the heart of conscious creation. It's also the reason synchronicity happens. When your inner state changes, your beliefs, focus, emotions, your outer world begins to shift too. Things fall into place. Patterns connect. The universe begins to send you signals. But here's the thing. You have to be aware enough to notice. Synchronicities are subtle. They don't scream, they whisper, and in a world full of noise, silence becomes powerful. Stillness helps you notice the details others miss. That's when ordinary things suddenly feel full of meaning. Science isn't here to destroy mystery. It's starting to confirm it. The quantum field isn't just an idea in a book. It's the very space you're living in. It connects everything. Stars and atoms, thoughts and results, dreams and events. you and everything around you. When you really get this, synchronicity doesn't feel weird anymore. It feels natural, even expected, because when science and mysticism work together, the message is clear. You are more connected than you've ever been told, and life is listening. One common misunderstanding about synchronicity is thinking it means everything is already planned and you're just following a script. But that's not how it works. Synchronicity doesn't take away your free will, it helps you see it. It's not forcing you to follow a path, it's inviting you into a conversation. Each moment of synchronicity gives you a choice. It's like the universe leaving a clue in your path and quietly asking, do you want to follow this? Time isn't as simple as we've been taught. We see the future as ahead, the past as behind, and the present as a thin moment in between. But both mystics and physicists say time is more like a layered field, not a straight line. Your soul isn't just moving forward, it's working with patterns, options, and possibilities that already exist. That's why synchronicities can feel like signs from the future or echoes from the past. A version of you in the future might be guiding you, a past decision might be shaping a present event, and everything seems to come together exactly when it should. That's why some moments feel electric. They carry a charge like something deep just shifted. Maybe it's a powerful conversation, a chance meeting, or a perfect coincidence. It gives you chills. That's not random. That's a doorway where your soul lines up with its next step. And you're not being forced, you're being offered a choice. Free will is still in charge. You can ignore the signs. You can choose comfort or delay. The universe won't punish you, but it won't stop trying either. It will keep showing up with signs, changing your environment, giving you new chances until you finally stop and ask, what is this trying to show me? And once you ask, everything changes because your awareness unlocks the pattern. Destiny isn't a fixed event, it's a frequency. It's not a strict path, it's a feeling, a resonance. When you move closer to who you really are, you naturally start connecting with people and events that match that energy. Synchronicity shows up more often, not because someone else is controlling things, but because you've stopped resisting your true self. You've started flowing with your own current. Think back to the moments in life when everything just worked. Doors opened, help came without asking. A bold choice felt strangely right. Those moments aren't lucky accidents. They're signs that you were in sync with your soul, and the more you notice these moments, the more they show up. But don't mistake ease for being passive. Synchronicity still asks you to show up. Sometimes the universe gives you a sign, but it's up to you to take action. It's not about waiting for fate. It's about playing your part in a two-way conversation with life. That's what makes synchronicity powerful. It doesn't take away your power, it increases it. Because once you realize that life is speaking to you, you stop waiting for someone else to fix things. You start co-creating. This is where destiny and free will work together. Destiny gives you the direction. Free will chooses the steps. And synchronicity is the glowing sign that says you're on track. When you begin to trust these signals, not as final answers, but as friendly guides, you stop feeling lost. You start feeling like you're remembering something you always knew. Deep down, you already know where you're meant to go. The signs just help you walk the path. Sometimes in life, you reach a moment that feels like a checkpoint. It's a quiet but clear pause, a moment where something inside you clicks. You may not even know why, but it feels important. Sometimes it's the end of something old. Sometimes it's the beginning of something new. Either way, it feels meaningful. That's not just your imagination, that's your soul speaking through synchronicity. These moments aren't random, they're part of a map that your life already has inside it. If you pay attention, these signs will guide you forward. These checkpoint synchronicities often show up when you've outgrown something but haven't stepped into the new yet. Maybe your job feels empty, a relationship feels heavy, your routine no longer feels right. You try to push forward, but nothing flows. Then suddenly, just when you're stuck, you get a sign, a phone call, a sentence you overhear, a person you randomly meet, a book you pick up without knowing why. And something shifts inside you. It's not loud, but it's clear. And for a moment, You remember who you are. These signs are incredibly precise. They don't come early or late. They show up exactly when your soul is ready, not when your ego wants them. They often come with a choice. Keep repeating the same old cycle or take a step into the unknown. The signs won't force you. They just show you a reflection, a message, or a new path and leave the decision up to you. But if you've been truly paying attention, you'll feel what's right. What makes these signs so powerful is that they feel both outside and inside at the same time. The outer world gives you something, a symbol, a number, a face, and it lands inside you like truth. You feel like the universe just said your name. It may not make sense to anyone else, but it makes sense to you. That's how you know it's real. Some people think these moments are rare miracles, but they're happening all the time. What changes is your ability to see them. The more self aware you become, the more you learn the language of synchronicity. You begin to see patterns that were always there. You let go of needing certainty. And instead, you start trusting the feeling of alignment. That's when signs don't just come during crises, they become part of your everyday life, a quiet rhythm guiding you back to yourself. Think of your life like a soul made map. It's not a fixed road, but a living, changing design that shifts as you grow. Synchronicities are your checkpoints. They don't give you every step, but they show you where you are. And sometimes that's all you need, a cosmic yes, a little nudge that says, keep going. In a world that values logic and control, these signs can feel magical, but they're not magic. They're reminders of your purpose, your direction, your deep connection to something greater. And here's the key. The more you follow these signs, the stronger they get. Not because the universe is rewarding you, but because you've tuned in. You've said yes to the conversation. You've stopped forcing life and started walking with it. And life responds. It always does. Because you were never meant to struggle your way through. You were meant to remember your way home, step by aligned step, guided by signs that speak the language of your soul. Synchronicity isn't something you go out looking for. It's something you notice. It's already there, quietly woven into your life like a hidden thread, waiting for you to see it. But many people miss it. Why? Because they are distracted, always busy, or stuck in their own thoughts. The signs are subtle, and if you're not paying attention, you won't hear them. To truly experience synchronicity as a guiding force, you need to tune yourself like a musical instrument. You have to slow down, be still, start noticing things in a way most people have forgotten. This isn't about superstition, it's about awareness. And awareness is something you can build. The more you practice it, the more clearly the signs start to speak. It all starts with presence. Synchronicities don't live in the past or future, they show up in the now. So, if your mind is always racing ahead or stuck in memories, you'll miss them. The first step is to return to where you are, right here, right now. Not where you think you should be, not where others are heading, just here. Because signs show up in the real world, not in the stories you're telling yourself in your mind. They come when the mind becomes quiet enough for the soul to speak. That's why synchronicities often happen during walks in nature, in meditation, or even after a storm. When something clears inside you, suddenly the world feels full of meaning. Start noticing what repeats. Which symbols keep showing up? What words or phrases do you keep hearing from different people? Do certain dreams come back again and again? Repetition is one of the universe's favorite ways to get your attention. It's not trying to confuse you, it's trying to wake you up. Writing things down helps. A journal isn't just for memories, it becomes a way to see patterns. When you write down even small synchronicities, you start to notice how they connect. You start to understand your own growth through the signs that show up. You realize life isn't random, it's responsive. Creating small rituals can help too. You don't need to use crystals or incense unless they feel meaningful to you. What matters is having a space where you return to yourself, ask for guidance, and truly listen. It could be 5 quiet minutes in the morning. It could be lighting a candle before making a big choice. The form doesn't matter. What matters is the intention. Synchronicity is a two-way street. If you want clearer signs, show the universe that you're paying attention. And don't be afraid to ask. Ask for a sign, not to test the universe, but to tune into it. Be clear about your question, then let go of how the answer should come. Most signs don't show up in the way you expect. They come in sideways, through things you almost missed. That's part of their beauty. Sometimes you think you're waiting for one thing, but life sends something even better, something more perfect than what you planned. You start to trust that feeling. You know, the one, that spark in your chest when something just clicks, that little inner nudge that tells you this small thing actually means something big. That's not imagination, that's resonance. That's your inner world recognizing itself in the outer world. When you start trusting that feeling without needing all the answers, you begin living in alignment. Not because you know everything, but because you've learned how to ask the right questions and how to listen. Building a synchronicity practice isn't about controlling life. It's about joining the conversation that's already happening. It's about becoming sensitive to the invisible structure behind your experiences. And once you start seeing this, you can't unsee it. The world no longer looks random, it feels full of meaning. You begin to move through life differently, not faster, not with perfect clarity, but with presence, with trust, with a quiet knowing that you are exactly where you need to be. And the signs will show up when you need them. There comes a time when synchronicity stops feeling like something that happens once in a while. It becomes part of how you live, not because the signs suddenly increase, but because you've become more awake. You no longer need big dramatic signs to feel guided. You stop doubting that little voice inside that says, pause, go, speak, or wait. You've trained yourself to listen, and from that listening, a new way of life begins to form. A way that isn't based on control, prediction, or fear, but on alignment, presence, and trust. At this point, synchronicity is no longer just an interesting event. It becomes a way of seeing life, a way of being. It becomes your philosophy. You live in deep connection with yourself and with the intelligence of the universe. Living this way doesn't mean you suddenly have all the answers. It means you've stopped pretending that you need them. You no longer chase certainty. You know that real power comes from being tuned in and open to the unknown. You wake up not just asking, what do I need to do today? But also, what is life asking of me today? That small change makes a big difference. You stop being a passive observer of life and you become an active co creator. You start noticing beauty where you used to rush past. You find meaning in simple moments others overlook. And you carry yourself differently, not with pride, but with deep respect. Because you know you're part of something much bigger, and that humbles you. When synchronicity becomes your way of life, the way you make decisions changes too. You stop forcing things, you stop settling for what doesn't feel right, you start choosing based on alignment, not fear. And when you can't see the full path ahead, you trust the next step, because the path reveals itself slowly, one step at a time, one sign at a time, one small act of trust after another. You start building a life that doesn't just look good, it feels right. A life that is guided, not pushed. This kind of life is quiet. Others may not even notice what's different. On the outside, it might look like you're just living a regular life, going to work, having coffee, paying bills. But on the inside, everything has shifted. You respond from a deeper place. You move to a different rhythm. Eventually, people around you begin to notice. They ask how you stay calm when things go wrong, how you take bold steps, how you stay okay with the unknown. And maybe you'll tell them the truth. You stopped fighting life and you started listening. This way of living doesn't mean life becomes easy. It doesn't protect you from challenges or pain, but it gives you something better, a compass in the middle of the storm. It helps you remember that even in uncertain times, there's guidance trying to reach you. There are signs trying to show you the way. And if you stay present, you'll always know what to do next. Not because it's logical, but because it feels aligned in your soul. We've been taught that life is random, that we're alone, that we must create our own meaning in a dead universe. But that story is falling apart, and something deeper is rising to take its place. It's an ancient story, a true one, where life isn't separate from us. Life is always speaking to us, through timing, through feelings, through symbols, dreams, and strange little events. through the soft and steady pulse of synchronicity, leading us back to ourselves. If you want to keep living half awake, chasing empty goals, ignoring the signs, you can. That path is always there, but it comes with a quiet ache, a constant sense that something is missing. But when you choose to live in tune with the mystery, when you follow the signs and trust the conversation, you don't just find your path. You find yourself, not the version shaped by outside expectations, but the real you, the one who knows, the one who remembers.